Okay, so the starting position, I guess, of the IT industry, it is not slightly or quite, it is unique in that it is both looked at as being quite a large energy user, polluter, whatever you want to call it, but at the same time, it is very much, you know, a lot of what we found during the pandemic, particularly, etc. It is very much the solution provider in terms of helping a lot of organizations reduce their carbon footprint. So I guess, how do you summarize that, whether you call it a contradiction, paradox, or where do you think the balance lies in that equation?
I've been thinking about that. How do you describe that challenge? And it is, the industry is to a certain extent somewhat bipolar in this. We are, as you say, the consumers in a big way of carbon, producing carbon, but at the same time, it is only through some of the innovations that we have come up with, and most recently those innovations around AI and ML and applying those in various different ways. But even before that, the use of aggregation to enable the data centers across the world to actually share resources. To a certain extent, we are kind of going back somewhat to where we came from, where the compute resources used to be the expensive thing. Well, now maybe it's not the compute resources themselves; it's how we get those, the carbon, that means that we need to share, and we need to actually make the right kind of decisions around how and how we help solve some of these problems. If you look at some of the things that some of the big data center providers these days, the Googles and Amazons of the world, locating their data centers in parts of the world that have natural cooling, for instance, all very well until you then suffer a network disruption or something similar. I think I've recently moved into a new house, and the internet provider was not particularly reliable. You come to rely on these things, and if you don't have a way of being able to mitigate for those things, it becomes an issue. But I think the major companies, the major CSPs, have been addressing this issue, and you need only look at how the likes of Azure and Snowflake, they are shared resources, and you are using them on a consumption basis. They then can aggregate the set of resources, the physical resources in the background that are necessary, and that has changed so significantly the footprint that we as an industry have and impose on our users.
And do you think, I mean, maybe it's an obvious question and with a simple answer, but do you think the IT industry, if we call it the supply chain from vendors right through to the corporations, large, medium, small enterprises, etc., that use it, do you think now everyone has moved beyond what we might call the greenwashing, the pretending, and is aware of its actual obligation? We're talking, when the video comes out, it'll be after, but we're talking during COP, the COP event. So I guess, it's front and centered. But do you think everyone now has virtually accepted, understood that, climate change is real, and therefore what they do matters?
I think that there is a difference between the individuals and the organizations for which they work. As an individual, you can be very much aware of these things, but it will take time for the organization to change. And I've worked in some of the large organizations in our industry, and change is, you describe them as a super tanker. It's like, yes, everybody's agreed that this is the right strategy, but it's going to take time to get there. And I think the same is true with people recognizing, most people, and I won't say it's everybody, it's most people recognizing that we have to change as an industry. The supply chain needs to reflect the realities of what's happened and what is happening. And it is going to take time for that to become ingrained in the DNA of every company. That requires leadership, and that statement in the company that I work for, Gaurav Dhillon, who's the CEO, set the tone, and we need that to be understood by everybody in the company that this is something that we do need to reflect in what happened. And it is the individual is only one part of this. There are the companies, the industry bodies. There is the whole hierarchy there of different organizations which will impact it. And I think so. Do I believe it? We understand the importance. Yes, but does every part of that supply chain in every organization? No. It is something that we need to understand the impact of our own actions in that wider picture in the organizations in which we work. And I think the organizations have the opportunity to have discussions. Obviously, we're currently a lot less in the office than we used to be, and so some of the water cooler conversations and things don't take place in quite the way that they used to. But that collaboration, those discussions within organizations, and the impact of what people are actually doing is happening in some form. It's just happening in a different way, and we're having to get used to that different way of operating than we did 2 years ago.
And in terms, I mean, perhaps an unfair question to ask, but how would you characterize what the industry has achieved? I mean, there's a lot of, as I say, the easy stuff is simply, whatever you sort of carbon, your footprint is, you can offset it, plant a few trees, that, crudely. Do you think the industry has moved beyond that, or how would you characterize, and individually, as you've alluded, different companies have different agendas, or they've made different levels of progress, but as an industry, I guess what I'm asking is, how would you rate the progress made so far?
Fundamentally, not good enough, but there is some really good things that are happening, and with the words coming out of the likes of Google and Amazon, and the Facebook, or Meta, we should call them now, of course. The things that they are doing and the words that they are using, they are setting the agenda for it to be more relevant. So I think the industry is making moves in the right direction. We are more of an enabler of the change than we are an inhibitor to that change. So I look at it very optimistically, and I see the things that are actually going on. The Amazon just moving to lower powered CPUs in as their standard machines. The same with Google, and finding ways to do things more efficiently. We're doing more of it, but that's taking some of the higher cost things out of the equation. So I think, as an industry, we're not doing enough, and we need to do more. But there is leadership being shown, and we need to make sure that that is recognised, and it will filter down. I like the things that, for instance, the SAP have got somebody who is focused. Tom Raftery is focused on making sure that the things that SAP themselves are doing and the industries that they're impacting in supply chain and those kind of things are taking notice of these things. And I think that is that kind of leadership is required, and it is good to see companies like that actually actively contributing to a positive change.
And in terms of, I mean, data is, the cliche goes, data is the new oil. Whether it is or not, that's probably not a great comparison, bear in mind what we're discussing, but it's here, there, everywhere. I'm wondering whether it has a role, or data, clearly most people are looking at it to give them a commercial advantage, make some money out of it, which is all good and well, but does it have a role to play in what we're discussing in terms of helping companies to make greener, smarter decisions around carbon footprint, environmental issues?
Absolutely. I mean, it is a fundamental there, and you're seeing things like I'm a cyclist, and so I'm very aware, and I have been a cyclist in California, so the air quality has been a particularly important aspect of the environment that I've been involved in, and there's the things like purple air. So there's the crowdsourcing of data, which is then filtering up and enabling companies to make better decisions. There is projects like the Open Climate Fix, which is focused on improving the use of data to control solar installations. There are some really important things where people are collecting, aggregating, and making data available that never has been before, that can impact the day-to-day things we're doing. The UK government makes data available today like it never, it is publishing data around all sorts of different subjects. The UK, US government, many governments around the world, enabling people to make better decisions because they have the data. Traffic flows, and going back to one of the challenges that actually caused me to start doing an international job many moons ago was, I used to hate I could get in my car here in the UK and sit in a traffic jam for 4 hours, and you just simply couldn't do anything about it. Today, there is so much better information available about routes. We all now look at Google Map or Waze or whatever, and we can make much better decisions. We are making much better decisions, even if we don't know about it, that Google is routing us based on data that they're aggregating from not only the publicly available data sources, but also the data sources that every time I'm driving, sorry, you see the phone in the background there, my phone is contributing to the data that they have. How long it's taken me to be driving along this stretch of road is then impacting the decisions that they're making about routing other people. And so as an industry, there is so much data and we are learning how to use that data to make the right decisions. Now, like everything, you can use the data to make to do things that you shouldn't. And that's one of the challenges, obviously, the privacy and all of those things around the data. But it is overwhelmingly that collection and making available the data is a very positive thing that we as an industry are contributing to. I said about the purple air, the air monitor, that data attached to my garage outside now is a monitor that contributes to the global knowledge of data quality, air quality, sorry, data quality on my mind. But that is, the industry contributes to those as well as individuals. I think that's going up the stack. Having come back to the UK from after living in the Silicon Valley for a long time, to me it's like I walk past a bus stop and the bus stop has got data. It's telling me when the next bus is, which, and I suppose 5 years ago, 10 years ago when I left the UK, that simply wasn't available. And the improvements in processes that have been enabled by that, I see it because there was a 10-year gap where I was not seeing those things in the UK. But you see how much has changed based on those things, and that availability and use of data. Arriva buses here in the UK are one of our customers, and they're using the data to provide to the bus stops, but also it enables them, they know how many people are getting on the buses. They know if they need to put more buses on the street based on the data. Those things are what has been enabled by this availability of data. And it's the important thing is it's not just one data set. It is because there is multiple data sets that have become available that has really changed things.
And in terms of the sort of the landscape where we're at, are we still fairly much in the infancy of this? Clearly, I mean, the data, there's lots of data already out there, historical, but in terms of the way we're using it, I'm wondering in particular, I mean, data in isolation is not a lot of use. You've got to interpret it, process it, etc. And I'm wondering whether the sort of rapidly developing AI, where you might need 10,000 humans to look at data, whereas one intelligent machine might be able to do a similar process much more quickly, etc. I mean, how do you characterize, I suppose what I'm saying is the landscape where we're at, the actual versus the potential, if that makes sense?
I think we are very much early in this process. There are still the knowledge workers. There are still the people that know what can be done with data. And I think the data literacy in organizations is one of those really critical things. People don't know the value of what they could achieve with the data that they have available. And I think that the concept of making people encouraging a data literacy within organizations is going to make a big difference. And if there are more people in the organization who recognize that it's data that they're working with and the possibilities, the people on the front line may not be the people that can apply the use of data, but they may be the people that have the ideas because they see different things to here I am in my ivory tower, I don't see some of the fundamental things that may be affecting a business. There are people across an organization that are in a much better place. If we make the workforce as a whole more data literate, we are more likely to have some of these ideas bubbling up and the possibilities being applied. And I think it's I think we are early, and I'm very optimistic that organizations and as a community, we can make stuff make a difference, and it is through understanding the data, understanding not only what the data is, but what we could do with it, is going to make a lot of difference across industries, and it's going to make a difference to getting us out of the current problem we have with carbon and the climate. The data is going to be a fundamental part of that.
I suppose most obviously the energy sector is a place to start with better use or more use of data. What potential? I mean, I do some work in the water industry, which are so part of the utilities. I know I would say they're perhaps not at the leading edge. They're beginning to understand the importance of data, but I don't know if the power sector is similar or if they are on the very sort of forefront of this. And what potential do you see, I suppose, within that sector specifically to use data to address the sort of sustainability issue?
I think it's a fundamental that the power and the power industry goes right the way through from the sourcing of power, the utilities, the delivery of it, and the consumption of it. We have customers like Schneider Electric, and they recognize that they are in a almost unique position because they have the control systems for many of the most important buildings, infrastructure around us. And by actually using data, they're able to improve the energy efficiency, the reducing consumption significantly, but also actually improving people's lives significantly by applying data. That's one example, but we have customers across all these different industries. But the yesterday's topic of methane production. So okay, methane production from older wells and mines, etc. Well, all of that data needs to be collected, and it's only through the collection of that data and then an understanding of that data that the energy industry is in a position to actually do something about it. And the energy industry is currently makes a lot of money, and I think it's one of those areas where only by applying the profits that they make today in understanding and addressing some of these areas, are we going to get out of the problem that we're in. And just the headline of the disinvestment that we see talked about yesterday on the carbon, the legacy carbon companies, that's really worrying. But equally, you look at what some of those companies have been doing, and they've been focused very much on trying to find the aspects of energy that they should be. You know, BP is a major player in solar, Total in other alternative energy systems. You know, those are the areas, you know, where and those companies are some of the companies that have the funds to actually be able to invest in finding the right kind of solutions based on the data. And you know, they have the infrastructure, they have the knowledge and the people that are actually able to make those differences in those areas.
And just perhaps a follow-up. I mean, in certain cases, I mean, clearly when you're dealing with vast number sets, I guess it's very difficult for humans to understand. But do you think there are occasions when humans with many years experience in an industry, whether it's the energy one or otherwise, think they know what's going on and think they know the solution, but when they actually get to the data, the facts, if you like, they are then surprised that it perhaps wasn't as they first thought?
Yeah, I mean, there is that, but you know, the whole thing about you know, AI and ML, one of the things that actually brought to the party was there are quants in, you know, some of these organizations, like the oil companies and the financial services companies, that are absolutely amazing and can analyze data in ways that, you know, mere mortals don't. But they are very few and far between. AI and ML enables the analysis of, you know, more variables than most people can even, you know, contemplate. Experience is, you know, is also one of those things that, you know, you are, when you are applying experience, you are applying, you know, learned knowledge in ways that only the human mind can. And I think, you know, there is, without a doubt, the combination of the AI and ML and experience, you know, the augmented human is, you know, much stronger than either the human on his own or the AI and ML. You know, you've got to have those things hand in hand that will actually accelerate more than could ever be done on one of those alone. That's the, you know, the AI and ML, you know, is augmenting our capabilities, you know, making us stronger is, you know, is the way to look at it, and, you know, the way to take this forward.
And I mean, you've referenced, as we've chatted, a couple of customers, but I wonder whether you maybe have one or two other examples you could share of how SnapLogic is, you know, already helping customers make decisions around data. I mean, whether it's to do with sustainability specifically, or just more, you know, generally for commercial benefit.
You know, some of the customers that I've been talking about there, you know, the companies that have seen, you know, data as one of the ways that they will create their future. And you know, Schneider, one that I particularly like, because, you know, they are in such a critical position in so many aspects of our daily lives, and it is by applying the technology that, you know, we're providing them with that enables them to deal with the data, to collect the data, to process it, to make it, deliver it to the right place at the right time, so that, you know, the analytics can be run on it, those kind of things. But equally, you know, you look at someone like the Craft Analytics Group. So they are one of the big companies that Craft, as in they do sports franchises in the US. So, you know, and so they had a group that were focused on the data that they, you know, had and delivering the analytics, the play-by-play analytics that you see. Well, that if you what they've done is they've taken that same set of information and said, okay, well, we now know that this is where we are in a game. We therefore know in the venue that all the facilities need to be serviced in this space of time. We know that we should be having food ready at this time, and that application of data that they have been able to do to improve not only the play-by-play stats, but because they then have that wider information about the built environment, the humans that are there, and the impact that they can then have on the services that they need to be providing to make people's lives better. So that's it. You think of them, think of the craft group as being focused on that data there of the sports plays, but actually it has so much impact around all of the things around that and the experience that people are having, and so there is that kind of thing. So I said the day-to-day lives of anyone who uses an Arriva bus or Arriva transport in the UK, that data is being delivered and cleansed and processed by SnapLogic, and those things that those customers are doing without the infrastructure that enables them to do this, they aren't then able to add these innovations. The buses, understanding when the next bus is going to be. You can look at it on your phone before you leave home, or you can see it in the bus stop. Those things require the movement of the data, the availability of the data, the cleansing of the data, all of those things that we're able to help them with, and then apply the algorithms, the machine learning, and those kind of things to enhance the outcomes.
So in terms of where we're at, I mean, I did ask earlier, I suppose, but is it fair to, I mean, the data is the new one, as I say, we've maybe parked that slogan. Is it the new goal, sort of the beginning of a sort of data rush that, the potential is there? And I'm wondering whether for your company and your customers, I say we are at the dawn of this new era. I mean, big data as a concept clearly has been around for ages, but I get the impression a lot of companies have been told, your data is valuable, they're holding on to it, but they're perhaps not actually that aware of why it's valuable and, the ways in which they can use it, interpret it. As I say, do you think we're at the beginning of a fairly significant moment in terms of using data much more intelligently?
I think we are at an early phase of the evolution of this. I think it's not something that is going to be, and now we are using it. It is going to be some in the same way that the telephone system became part of our daily lives. The ability to communicate continued to evolve. It wasn't just getting a phone in every house. It was communication evolved, and it wasn't just a telephone in every house. We ended up with a telephone in every room, and then we ended up with an amazing communication device in every pocket. And I think data is a fundamental part of our lives going forward. Will we recognize it as, that's because of the data? No, we'll recognize the application of it and we'll recognize the benefits we get from it. That I think is what will happen. Fundamental to getting there is making people aware of the data and what they could do with it, and that across organizations, the organizations that have in place a data literacy policy and are encouraging people to apply thinking, to apply the possibilities of data to what actually is happening to the business, and what difference they could make. That's the kind of organizations that will succeed.
Now, maybe as we conclude, it'd be good to know from SnapLogic's point of view, bearing in mind what we've chatted about, what do you think you as an organization can bring to this data conversation over the next, I mean, you're already sort of well entrenched, but what else can we expect from you, without obviously giving away any sort of trade secrets over the next 12 to 18 months? Where's your focus?
Well, we have this North Star, a phrase that we articulate on our vision, which is we have this AI and machine learning functionality, which we call Iris, and we were early to the industry in using that to help automate the integration, automation itself. But it's as relevant today. We want to automate, but we have, with the more data, and actually within SnapLogic, the nature of the service that we provide, we've got tens of terabytes of behavioral data. So we understand what our users are doing with SnapLogic, and we're using the machine learning and AI functionality to accelerate our users' ability to do those things right. And so putting more of that, getting to the solution more quickly, more accurately, is very much the focus. And being able to do that and enable anybody within an organization that is literate of the data that they're working with to be able to actually do that. And so we are currently increasing the personas that we address with our platform, enabling a wider set of personas across an organization to be able to use it. Historically, the working with data has been the preserve of the IT team. But now more lines of business, people in the business are looking for the agility, looking for the ability to be able to work with the data. And that's what we're very much enabling, is enabling them to be able to work with the data more effectively, but also to be able to achieve the things that they're looking for, understand what they're trying to do, and to deliver them that capability much more effectively. So out of the box, if you can articulate what it is that you're trying to do, for us to be able to actually deliver that using the cohort of data that we have and the technology that we have in the AI and ML that we encapsulate in Iris.
And just sort of supplementary that, I'm stupid of me perhaps not to have asked earlier, but everyone's talking about the edge. I think IDC or Gartner suggests that 80% of all data will be generated and or consumed at the edge by, I can't remember, is it 2025 or 2030? But do you see that as a major opportunity for yourselves as well, when the IoT, if you like, is rolled out as predicted, and therefore there will be just this exponential increase in data, which folks like yourself can help people leverage for for commercial advantage?
I challenge your assertion that that is in the future.
Fair enough.
I think that is now. We are seeing the data being generated. The IoT devices. I moved into a new house. I have put in place a Nest thermostat. My Nest thermostat is contributing to a global set of data. It's an IoT device. The thermostat in my house, one of the prerequisites is, it needs to be connect to your internet. Well, that's not a problem. That's there. But fundamentally, that's the thermostat in my house. The alarm system is automatically, it's an edge device. The car that my wife wants to put on the drive is an edge device. It is now. Fundamentally, I don't think that IoT is per se different to anything else that we are doing. It is here today, and anything that we use today is IoT connected, and it is. I think the change is by 2025. It is going to be in many of the thermostats, the central heating systems will just have that functionality, and they will reach a critical mass of having been replaced. The UK is going to be replacing boilers and encouraging everybody to get heat pumps. All of those are going to be connected. We're having a smart meter installed next week. If you have a new meter installed in your house for your power or gas, whatever, it is going to be a smart meter. This is here. It's not a future. The future is how much we can then leverage the data that these things generate. That's the future.
Great. Well, it's been brilliant to chat. I'm pretty sure I've learned quite a few things from yourself, but I've really enjoyed the conversation. So Craig, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it too.